welcome to module 3 of the Polarity Code. Today we will be speaking about the feminine and the masculine principle, the polarities of the two sexes. So we can start by saying that the union of these two can be described like dancing in trust. And today's transmission on polarity is actually about this inner union, embodiment of both of the sexes in equal measure. And by some of the oldest teaching, this is also called the sacred tension. And we mentioned that this aspect of the tension is also connected to the harmony when we seek this harmonic middle place within our field. So welcome once more, and I'd like to invite us as each session to drop down into our breath to calm our nervous system a little bit down. So let's take a moment and sit comfortably, and if you choose so, place one hand on your belly and one on your chest, and let's just take 5 to 7 rounds of deep inhalations and deep exhalations as well. Now, as we enter the session, let's call in both the light and the shadow and invite the masculine and the feminine divine energies to enter our field in our session. Let's also call upon the support of the 4 directions, starting with the south, Mother Serpent, the carrier of the fire of transformation, creativity, serpent wisdom, and the feminine shedding. To the west, Jaguar, the deep waters, the lunar realms, the mystery, emotion, intuition, and the feminine womb of regeneration. And to the north, Hummingbird, the bones and the wisdom, the mountains, the silent witnesses, structure, devotion, and masculine stillness. And to the east, Eagle, Condor, the rising sun, the energies of the masculine principle, initiation, clarity, breath. And from above, the stars and Father Sky enter our medicine space, Aho. From below, Pachamama, the Earth Mother, we honor you, Mother, and all your creations. Welcome to our medicine space, Aho. And let's call upon the energies from within and this sacred union within ourselves, the union of the masculine and the feminine. So today, as before, as in the previous sessions, we are going to combine a little bit of reading, talking, reflecting, a lot of myth, science, examples on how we can see and notice these differences in the polarities of the masculine and feminine divine. So we will end it up as well with a guided meditation to embody all this new knowledge and new wisdom teachings that we go through today. So we are going to start the first segment with a little bit of psychology, science, and myth. So from the principle of gender, and this is also one of the Hermetic truths, they state that gender is everything, and that everything should has its masculine and feminine principles. And this kind of energetic truth is running much more deep than the identity of reproductiveness, reproductivity, which we often bound the human realm to, reproduction. So this means that it's like the law of energy, because the masculine is always outward moving. It's kind of like using these activating emotions, directive emotions, and also connected to the solar energies. The feminine, in turn, is inward turning, receptive, gestating, and connected to the lunar energies more. So we can, in a way, say that when creation occurs, whether that be from creation of ideas, or we can raise it up all the way to the level of the galaxies, it's also through the tension of these poles, because without both, there is no new creation, there is no new life. So we can also speak about imbalances in these energies, the masculine and the feminine energies. So imbalance in the masculine energies arises when dominance is practiced without devotion, and imbalance in feminine energies arises when receptivity is practiced without boundaries. So this can, in a way, lead us to understanding that mastery of these two poles is not neutrality, it's not becoming neutral, but it's, in a way, this inner union, which the old myths are also speaking about, which we will come to a little bit later. So, from the psychological stance and the framework, this inner union is kind of like healing these polarity wounds, which the masculine and the feminine polarities, as they live within our psyche. And when we were born, we embodied both of those, but through life and through conditioning and culture and trauma, and also our family dynamics, we were taught to abandon one of these poles. So, common polarity wounds, we can speak about those as well. Well, we can say hypermasculine dominance, which is always involving control, suppression of emotion, rigidity. When we talk about hyperfeminine polarity wounds, it's connected more to the collapse, to the chaos, to emotional flooding, to neediness. And we can, for example, give us a few examples. Where can we or some people can recognize themselves in these common polarity woundings? So we can speak about this high achiever person, which at the same time is also a rigid planner, unable to soften with emotions. We can speak about a type of person which is like a creative, intuitive, but at the same time unable to commit or complete, or a heart-led feeler who is always avoiding conflict, or a strong leader who fears vulnerability. So when we look at these wounds, so to call them polarity wounds, we should not look at these as flaws, but as invitations, because these wounds are actually revealing where our polarity wants to return and wants to heal. So this is also well seen in the example, and I will use a quote here, of Carl Gustav Jung, the psychologist. He says, until we make the unconscious conscious. It will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. So we can say that our task is not to become masculine or feminine. It's to become aware of these two and the relationship, the inner relationship within these two, and embody both of them. So that said, our next segment will involve a little bit of neuroscience and the nervous system connection to the masculine and feminine poles, and how we can restore this balance, actually. So masculine and feminine archetypes, they are also embodied in our nervous system, and we can connect it to these two. The sympathetic nervous system is actually a masculine polarity, and the parasympathetic nervous system is the feminine polarity. So when we speak about a healthy nervous system, it kind of moves between activation and rest. And this is also, in a way, being harmonized between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So, of course, we can speak about if we are subject to chronic stress, trauma, emotional repressions. Well, this will always infuse a polarity lack, especially in our feminine and masculine divine parts of ourselves. So when we speak about the wounded nervous system, for example, over-masculinized nervous system, we can see symptoms as hypervigilance, overworking, burnout. But when the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the feminine polarity, is in an unhealthy part of the spectrum, it produces the emotions and the feelings of collapse and dysfunction, and sometimes lack of will. And finally, connected to the nervous system, very important to mention, and I will use a quote from this guy, Dr. Stephen Porges, and he is the creator of this polyvagal theory, which then emphasizes that safety is the foundation of connection. And the masculine polarity is the one that creates the safety structure. So feminine polarity first will open up when it feels safe. So this is meaning that there's a deeper connection here between the poles. They actually need each other to be in balance, to be able to harmonize each other. So when this balance of the nervous system is attained, then we are talking about coherence, and this is our key word, like a thread in all of the modules of our course, because we'll be seeking coherence between our heart brain. So these coherent rhythms can arise when we are emotionally safe. So emotions like appreciation, care, gratitude, of course, is kind of like strengthening this magnetic resonance and the balance between our polarities and opening this magnetic field of the heart wider, very much wider, reinforcing our luminous energy field as well. So when this magnetic resonance is open, well, then our heart and our brain, and we can describe the brain as the masculine part of this polarity and the heart as the feminine part of the polarity. And when these two are in balance and synchronized, well, then we are fully coherent and we become magnetically present. So that means that we can with ease embody all of these emotions from the field, which we have intentions to, and we do so. So now we are going to speak a little bit about the archetypes of the inner masculine and the inner feminine. So firstly, inner masculine. They provide direction, presence, structure, protection. And when healthy masculine, it provides boundaries, stillness, and devotion. But when wounded masculine, it provides avoidance, domination, and dissociation. So inner feminine, when it's healthy, it feels, receives, nurtures, and births, and also has a very high intuition and creativity and emotional clarity. But the wounded parts are shown by overwhelm, manipulation, or passivity. So there may also be experiences involved by the wounded masculine, which kind of is internal criticism, which is attacking sensitivity, and sensitivity is actually one of the feminine superpowers. So the feminine can also sometimes, by too much longing for being held, be dismissive of logic, which is the masculine dominant emotion when balanced. So we can talk about that healing of these wounded parts then. It arises when we begin to, in a way, parent ourselves, looking within ourselves in this kingdom within us and parenting ourselves with this notion of the sacred polarity, that we have to nurture both of these aspects of ourselves within ourselves to be able to hold a coherent field and hold our nervous systems also intact. So we can also speak about a concept of spiritual dynamics when we touch the masculine and the feminine divine. So in the science of Kundalini, uh, the Tantra, and the Taoist wisdom, and even Kabbalistic traditions, they all teach that creation is the merging of the polar forces. Examples from the myths. So, for example, in Hindu scriptures, Shiva represents stillness and consciousness. Shakti represents movement and energy. Then we can speak about the concepts of the heaven and the earth, the energies, the yin and the yang, the fire and the water, the elements. So these comparations can lead us into concluding that divine union and this inner union, which we are speaking about, embodiment of both of the sexes and the polarities to its fullest harmony, it's really truly not sexual. That union is energetic. So this perfect state of balance of the sexes is never sexual. It's actually attained on the energetic level. So when this union is in sync, is it at its harmonic place, then a number of things, beautiful things arises. So such as our creativity explodes, our nervous system stabilizes, our presence and our magnetism increases, our relationships even become clearer and much more easy to deal with. So when we reach this state, we are actually, with all its irony, we are not looking anymore for anybody to complete us, because we are magnetizing from the overflow. So this brings us down to a very important part polarity in relationships and how healing through mirroring can occur as well. So it's very important to mention here before we enter the facts, the science facts and the mythical facts, that in relationships we often attract what we have not fully integrated within ourselves. So let's use a few examples here. For an example, a strong, logical man may attract a chaotic, emotionally expressive woman because she reflects the disowned or the unprocessed emotion that he has been taught to suppress. Another polarity, a nurturing, deeply feeling woman may maybe attract a cold partner because he unconsciously reflects her need for boundaries and inner clarity. So these dynamics are, if we look at them as invitations to evolve our character, then we can in a way work on our relationships. Because as when relationships trigger some kind of discomfort or confusion within us, we should use these as revelations so that this external tension, which is created by the disproportionate masculine and the feminine within the relationship, it kind of begins to reveal our internal disunions and these disowned parts of ourselves, which we can call shadow parts of ourselves as well. So in Jungian psychology, when we talk about the healing process like this is the principle of projection. So what we repress or disown within ourselves, we often project upon others, and especially our partners. So this unconscious dance, of mutual mirroring, if we look at this as we can see it as an area of development, because this is the most potent vehicle for self-awareness and growth. And this is connecting us also to the subject from yesterday, where we spoke about the chaos and how chaotic areas of our lives, and chaos is really a fruitful area for our evolution. And in that way, we can use this psychology of projection and psychology of the shadow by staying consciously aware as the medicine within our relationships. If we disciplinedly look at each other and consciously engage to heal these energies. So spiritual traditions, they echo these truths as well. In Tantra, they speak about how the beloved is a mirror of this divine union within ourselves. In Taoist philosophy, the polarity says yin and yang, a very popular one. They always seek balance. So in shamanic teachings, and for an example, in the Kero lineage, the lineage that I am initiated into, relationships are seen as sacred allies, and medicine carriers, the medicine men and women, have to reflect this harmony on their healing path. So from a neuroscience and energetic standpoint, here we are speaking about the heart-brain coherence, which becomes the key, as the harmony between the poles brings our nervous system into regulation. So healing the polarity, in a way, does not mean abandoning our essence or flipping these poles. It means that both partners have to reclaim their full spectrum, their inner masculine and their feminine energies. So the relationships then becomes like a chosen under conscious awareness, a polarity dance. And instead of being this unconscious trauma reenactment, which we often really produce in our relationships as we mirror each other often and find partners, obviously by psychological reasons, that mirror our wounds. So if we can reach to this point, that we can heal each other in our relationships by using these psychological techniques, the shadow techniques, the projection techniques, we can then speak about the energetic intelligence or energetic maturity. And this becomes then the ability to hold our masculine presence and our feminine flow at the same time. So this embodies direction, clarity, purpose, intuition, receptivity. So all these super senses of our own are being in balance by embodying this energetic maturity. So when this union in a way deepens and is practiced, all of our outer relationships, they in a way shift, and we are not longer being pulled into cycles of blame or victimhood or codependence. We simply become magnetic from the overflow from the field. So we can talk about love in relationships as a discipline. And what does that mean? Well, that means that when we are conscious in our relationship, we can always choose presence over projection. We can choose listening to the discomfort instead of reacting to it. We can take responsibility for our emotional frequency. We can even make a commitment to coherence. And even, if our triggers scream otherwise, we can decide consciously to commit to calmness, to harmony. So this state of energetic intelligence is where true attraction and true healing can arise then. So when we practice love in this way, discipline, our nervous system becomes less reactive. We become more magnetic, and our polarity dance becomes more conscious, alive, and creative. In a mythic language, we can in a way say, when this state is attained, that we both are becoming the sun and the moon, the inner solar of fire of purpose, action, direction, and the inner lunar energy of glow, of reflection and feeling and surrender. So together, when in balance, these create rhythm. And rhythm, in a way, is the foundation of the energy. And also, in a way, we can say, if we are in a good rhythm and good balance between the divine masculine and feminine, it's kind of like this, the soul then falls in love with ourselves. So, Fire Shamans, they teach that the path of balance is not like a straight line, it's like a spiral. And as we grow and evolve, we return again and again and again to these core truths and practice them and re-practice them and remember them and re-remember them. And hold on and let go and know and not know. So, and burning and birthing. So each time we kind of in a way reach an octave higher in our evolution as we learn to master these dualistic polarities which we are speaking about, and essentially today masculine and feminine divine. So let's have a small reflection now here. When our relationships triggers us for the next time, let's say, we can ask ourselves, what is being revealed here? Is this a mirror or a wound? And what energy have I not integrated yet? And then after reflecting to these questions, we can return to our partners and to our inner altar, to our hearts, to ourselves. And this divine marriage that we are talking about within us, the lunar and the solar energies. So you see, when this divine union is alive within us, love is not longer a search. It's kind of like this song which we remember, and then we become love, and automatically we magnetize the frequencies of love from that re-remembered memory. And this can bring us to a few more reflective questions, which we can just kind of like flow through to gain oversight over this discipline in relationship where partners can actually, by conscious awareness, choose to use the tools of the projection and the shadow to consciously heal each other and to harmonize these energies within their relationships and within themselves at the same time. So the reflective questions are, when was I last triggered in love? And what part of me felt unseen? Is the first reflective question. The second, do I tend to overfunction or underfunction in intimacy? So overfunction is the masculine and underfunction is the feminine. So third reflection now. What would loving from wholeness feel like in my body? And where am I still asking someone else to rescue or complete me? And we can also ask ourselves, what polarity do I naturally lead with? And how can I become more flexible? So this then becomes also, in a way, emotional intelligence when we ask ourselves these questions deeply. And this is, in a way, also energetic mastery. So, Trisha, now we are at the segment where we have a little bit more of reading about polarity in relationships and a little bit more about the energy myth. So we will involve the archetypes here a little bit, and especially from the Kero lineage. So the sacred fire of polarity. We can speak about the solar Condor and the lunar Serpent and the bow of creation. So in this cosmovision of the Kero lineage, the world is born again and again through this sacred marriage of the two great forces, which is the Condor and the Serpent. And these represent, in a way, codes of consciousness. And also, in a way, living energies that spiral through our body and through the natural world and through the structure of the cosmos as well. And then we can also speak about the embodiment and of these energies within our medicine bundles, within our mesas. So every mesa is like and alter with the poles. So every mesa carries the codes of the polarity, and these are never random. So, for example, a stone on the right side of the mesa can feel heavy and stable and represent solar energies, masculine energies. A feather on the left side of the mesa can represent light and lifting and lunar energies. A tobacco bundle in our medicine mesa can represent clarity, heat, the breath of the sky father. So if we keep a flower, it can represent beauty or offerings or the blood of Pachamama. So all of these are symbols and teachers of polarity. So we can then say that our medicinal mesas, our mesas, are telling a story. And this story, again, is the story of harmony and how we can allow this life force from the field to flow even through our mesas in a harmonic way. So now we reach the part where we speak a little bit about the polarity in shamanic healing and how the healer must embody both of these poles. And we will use the two elements for examples here. So firstly, the fire is like structure. It gives direction, action, and it's connected to the masculine polarity. And the water is like cooling. It's connected to the feelings of integration and femininity, deep femininity. So these two have to be harmonized within the medicine person, within the healer. So that no dominance or overflow is practiced, so that all of these pools of emotions that we are dealing with when we are through our healing processes or through key healing processes of our clients, so that they kind of in a way harmonize. And this brings us to the concept of energetic hygiene. And why is this important? Energetic hygiene connected to the divine feminine and divine masculine. This teaches us that we must not over-identify, because most of the people actually subconsciously dominantly connect and attach to only one of these poles. For an example, they can say, the masculine can say, I'm the provider. I must push, solve, and do. And this often results in burnout. Or somebody can say, I just go with the flow. I follow my feelings. And then it can produce a collapse in the field. So if we have too much masculine energy and embodiment, this produces rigidity. And if we have too much feminine, this produces leakage. So coherence can be understood as pulse, as movement, as switching between the poles, being able to move from one to another, run to another side, but functioning mostly in the harmonic middle, which we also were talking about in module 1 and 2. So the concept of the energetic hygiene here is very important, because without it, the polarity can become a pathology. And we know what pathology means. So we can imagine here by a metaphor of the bow and the arrow, like its power. You can imagine that the feminine is the bow. It's wide and receptive and it's holding tension. And the masculine is kind of like the arrow. direct, focused, and released. So then we can speak about this concept of tension again in the harmonic spectrum and how tension is sacred. If we don't have tension, then there's no aim, and without aim, there's no direction. So this tells us that to create this sacred tension within ourselves, in our creative processes, in our relationships, we have to embody harmonically both of the sexes and tend to this concept of energetic hygiene when we feel that we are imbalanced, correct ourselves, simply our energies. So we're at the part now, Trisha, where we're going to have a guided meditation, which will, in a way, balance this divine polarity, masculine and feminine polarity within us. So I invite you to connect to your heart space together with me, and let's drop down into our breath for a few minutes in silence. Now let's invite the energy of the Condor and the masculine principle in its most noble form into our field, inviting presence without pressure and clarity without control into our fields. Let's allow this energy to move down our spines and to let it root into the earth, grounding our purpose. And now let's invite the lunar flow, the divine feminine activation. Let's feel a soft current of silver blue light rising from the base of our spine and from Pachamama, from Earth Mother. Fluid, receptive, wise. This is the energy of the serpent, the feminine principle. Feeling without drowning, beauty without manipulation. And let's allow this serpent of Kundalini to rise through our spines, allowing her to circle this golden light. And now let's imagine the solar and the lunar energies connecting at our heart center. And this is activating the arrival of our quantum selves, our infinite selves. And this is a blueprint of our highest self, whole, balanced, magnetic, and equally embodying the feminine divine and the masculine divine. Now, let's breathe all these energies into our heart and allow them to integrate for a while. Allowing all these codes to take an imprint in our field and to stay harmonized. And then gently on your own time, you can open your eyes. Our session is almost finished.